continue to rail against the measure. What will Fed policymakers do about interest rates? We'll find out later today when they wrap up their latest two-day meeting. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 142 points. More details, srnnews.com.
A Social Security update. 70 million Americans collect Social Security benefits today, and millions more will join soon. Now, a new study finds 70% of Americans don't get the full benefits they deserve. But recipients can use simple strategies to boost Social Security benefits by as much as $188,000 over a lifetime. Social Security expert Michael Allen says it's true and reveals 5 key strategies to increase your benefits. It's all in his free special report. Newsmax calls the report your best guide for bigger Social Security benefits. Whether you're getting benefits or soon will, you need the Social Security report. Get it free. Call 800-999-9690. 800-999-9690. We'll text it to you right away, along with President Trump's act cutting your Social Security taxes. Call now, 800-999-9690. 800-999-9690. Text and data rates may apply.
Get ready for the 10th annual Schilling Cattle Production Sale. That's happening Wednesday, March 25th at 1 p.m. Central Time in Brewster, Kansas. We're selling 50 Angus bulls, 2 Limflex bulls, and 20 Angus heifers. Big, stout, performance-driven cattle with an excellent selection of Calvin-Ease bulls. You can check out the cattle on Facebook at Schilling Cattle and watch the sale live on DV Auction. Come see great cattle, meet great people, and enjoy some fantastic food. Mark your calendar now for the Schilling Cattle Production Sale on Wednesday, March 25th.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Today we'll have more sunshine than yesterday, and highs will reach into the low 80s with a west northwesterly wind gusting 15 to 30 miles per hour. Red flag warning will be in place for Yuma, Dundee, and Hitchcock counties. Tomorrow will be a repeat of today with highs in the mid 80s and sunny skies and west northwest winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour, just under criteria for fire weather conditions. Lows will be in the lower 40s. Friday and Saturday, the Great Basin heat ridge will build over the area. We'll expect near record hot temperatures in the upper 80s to low to mid 90s for daytime highs and lows in the low 40s, with west southwesterly winds at 10 to 20, gusting 25 miles per hour in the afternoon. And being a dry heat with low relative humidity, there is fire weather conditions that will need to be monitored. The summer-like record March heat will break with the cold front Saturday night and Sunday. Not really high on moisture chances with the frontal passage, but maybe some light rain or snow. Chances are better early Monday morning. This meteorologist Chris Schromick, the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
The days are getting longer, the roads are calling, and it's a great time to upgrade your ride at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get 1.9% APR for 36 months on a 2026 GMC Terrain, the perfect SUV for wherever the road takes you. Need a truck? Take advantage of up to $7,000 in rebates on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500 with eligible trade-in. And for serious capability, get $500 bonus cash on a new 2026 GMC 3500. See the full lineup today at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland or online at hurlchev.com.
At Ray Community District Hospital and Clinic, they believe in promoting healthier living through compassionate quality care. From state-of-the-art maternity care to life-saving emergency services, their dedicated team is there for you and your family. Whether it's managing diabetes, navigating recovery, or receiving specialized treatments, they're committed to your well-being. Discover the difference a community-focused hospital can make. Visit rayhospital.org today to learn more. Ray Community District Hospital and Clinic. Your health, our priority.
Need a porta potty or septic pumping in Northwest Kansas? Call Topside Portables and Pumping, your local family-owned crew. They've got clean, reliable toilets for weddings, farms, and job sites. plus full septic services, RV waste, fertilizer tanks, and more. Because when nature calls, they answer. Call 785-728-8089. That's 728-8089. Topside Portables and Pumping. Reliable, local, clean.
From drive-through banking to mobile deposit, we make it easy to get things done on your schedule. Banking should fit your life, not the other way around. This is Jessica Von Lintel at F&B Bank. Banking made simple.
In a small town, your banker should know more than just your account number. They should know your name. At F&B Bank, we believe in real conversations, friendly faces, and decisions made right here at home. I'm Paige Sneathen, Vice President at F&B Bank, and we're proud to serve your family like our own. Member FDIC.
The roof's worn out and it needs replaced. Who are you gonna call?
Roof Masters!
Roof Masters Roofing at Colby has been your premier roofing contractor for over 40 years, offering free estimates on all types of roofs, as well as seamless rain gutters and vinyl siding. So give us a call today. What's that number, Jake?
462-6642. I think you better call
Roof Masters!
At Eklund Insurance, they understand your unique needs. Whether you're a farmer protecting your farm and ranch, or you need commercial or personal insurance for your home, health, or auto, the team at Eklund Insurance has you covered. Their consultative approach ensures you get the best advice tailored to your situation. They shop around for the best insurance products, so you don't have to. Eklund Insurance, your trusted partner in comprehensive coverage. Stop by today to talk to one of their agents at 1628 Caldwell Avenue in Goodland.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Give me my cane. I'll show you how to play this game.
The High Plains only local sports talk show, broadcasting live on Goodland's Rocket 102.5 and video streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps to the pros.
Cowgirls hunting them, and they're finding them. Stargell with another 3.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, along with
Pestaway LLC, Topside Portables and Pumping, Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell, and the Insurance Agency.
Let's go to work. Harris, 6'4", 225. Football pass to Kojay. 2 to shoot 3. He's got another one. A Kojay. 16 in the first half. This is the biggest lead, 39-30 for Howard. Harper sends a fly ball to deep center field. Better late than never. Bryce Harper has tied the championship. Into left center field, headed for the gap, and Venezuela has retaken the lead. And Eugenio Suarez just like that. McNeil right elbow up front Williams. The attack slides to a stop left block to Lubin. Goes up, tough shot. He made it over Cody. 7 left now, 6. Mark the lefty. He's been awesome. Jab step with 2. By the way, yeah! He got it!
Oh, man, we are in March now, aren't we, people? Yeah, the first 4 with something a little fun last night. A couple of late game wins in 2 different type of basketball games, but yet also kind of the same. You know, Howard getting out to a huge lead in the first game of the first 4 of the men's NCAA tournament last night in Dayton, having to hold on for dear life against UMBC, able to do so, get their first tournament win in program history. Following that up, Texas, NC State in a game that Texas pretty much led throughout. Got a nice lead. NC State with a late charge. Texas's Trevon Mark with the fadeaway 2-point mid-range jumper to get the win for Texas with just over a second remaining. And those 2 teams are into the official big bracket of the NCAA tournament. Happy Wednesday morning, everybody. It's March the 18th. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz, broadcast, of course, on Goodland's Rocket, KLOE, NWKSradio.net, and, of course, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Appreciate everyone tuning in, no matter which way you're doing so here on this Wednesday, which, once again, another programming note, no show the rest of the week here on the Morning Blitz. For those who don't know, many people have already messaged me or texted me. Yes, I am headed to the NCAA tournament myself in Oklahoma City. So no show the rest of the week. So this is the final show of this week. And be back on Monday of next week is the current plan. So now for our final show of the week, it's a big one. We've got lots to get to in today's program. Back into the show, we are going to touch on the massive news in the NFL with the news of Denver sending 3 draft picks from this year's draft to the Miami Dolphins for Jalen Waddle, the wide receiver out of Miami. And so thoughts and comments are welcome on the F&B Bank text line at 785-899-2222. People want to get their thoughts in on what Jalen Waddle to the Broncos means. Would love to hear those. Also news about a Kansas City wide receiver out and on to another team in segment number 3. And then our guest of the day, I was teasing it yesterday because I'm very excited about it. And I think people who love watching sports, listening to sports, particularly if you love college sports, you'll know the voice that you'll hear coming up in segment 2. Westwood One Sports, Fox, Big Ten Network, FS1, you see him in baseball, football, basketball. You see him all over your television screens and on your radio. The voice of the Final Four, Kevin Kugler, will join me here in segment number 2. Actually, he joined me yesterday, I should say. Had to pre-record, but we will talk with him about him getting ready for the first round of games. He'll actually have coverage of Kansas and Cal Baptist in San Diego. That's where he'll be for the first round. So look forward to visiting with Kevin Kugler and playing that interview with you here on segment 2. Once again, the voice of the Final Four will join us in segment 2 here on the Morning Blitz. So that's what's going on in today's program. Segment 1, we will be doing kind of a quick little bracket breakdown show. You know, for the last multiple years, we have done kind of a bracket breakdown show where this show we have, 2 guys on it. We go back and forth on how our brackets kind of felt or came together ahead of the tournament, which gets going on Thursday. The official tournament, I should say. I understand there's games still tonight, including the big one, Miami of Ohio, SMU is a big game. And then the other one I think is what Prairie View A&M and Lehigh are the 2 NCAA tournament games. And the women's tournament gets going tonight. I know Nebraska is in the first 4 against Richmond is one of those games in the first 4 for the women's tournament. But besides the fact, we're going to break down the bracket here in this first segment. At least I'll take a look at my bracket, give out my thoughts and reasonings for my picks, and we will go from there here in segment number 1. FB Bank text line, once again, open the complete show. Get thoughts, comments in at 785-899-2222, particularly if you've got thoughts on the Jalen Waddle to Denver deal, which hopefully we'll go through today. He's flying to Denver today, getting a physical, or he flew yesterday, getting a physical today. And then if it's approved, which we've seen already in this NFL offseason, that can backfire with the Max Crosby deal, but then he'll officially be a Denver Bronco. Anyway, starting out with the NCAA tournament, just kind of overall looking at this bracket and how it kind of laid out, I don't really have a whole lot of things. I think one of the big things that stood out to me, I asked Sam Hadfield yesterday on this, was kind of the movement of Purdue, who I think probably could have been anywhere from a 3 to a 5 seed, and because of their performance in the Big Ten tournament, jumped all the way to the 2. And maybe that was a little bit of a stretch for them to get all the way up to the 2. Nonetheless, that was kind of the biggest thing to me. Also was a surprise that the SEC got as many teams in as they did, but Texas was one of those last teams in, and they proved that they deserved to be in by beating NC State in the first round on a last-second shot. So those were just kind of some thoughts that I had on the bracket overall. There's no doubt that the East bracket is absolutely loaded. You look at it, you've got Duke, St. John's, Kansas, Michigan State, UConn is in there. And then you just look at the coaches of those teams, and you've got Mick Cronin at UCLA. You've got Louisville in that bracket as well. There's some phenomenal coaches and some phenomenal teams in the East bracket. It is a very difficult bracket when it comes to teams and coaches, I think. A very difficult bracket. I'm not going to go through every single pick. That's not what I want to do here. I kind of want to just kind of highlight some of the first round upset. I think there's going to be a few first round upsets. Last year there wasn't a lot of first round upsets. It was actually quite chalky. And I've heard some people say, they think it's going to continue to kind of stay I've heard some people say this year, they think it's going to kind of flip. There are going to be more upsets than there were last year. And maybe that's going to be true. I don't know what the number will be for a whole lot more, but I do think there will be some upsets I don't know if there's going to be an abundance of them like people maybe think, but I think there's definitely going to be some of them. Some of my first round upsets in my, unless I kind of picked, if I pick chalk, I'm not going to probably bring it up, at least in this first segment or in this first part. But some upsets that I picked, or some interesting runs, starting in the East bracket. I have Sal. I'm on Sam Hadfield's train. He was talking about yesterday about South Florida making a deep run. They are playing just with a supreme amount of confidence going into this tournament. And I think that's actually going to show. And they've got a decent path to make a nice run. In fact, I actually have South Florida making it all the way to the Elite Eight. I know that Sam Hadfield said he had his going to the Sweet 16. I think they can get to the Elite Eight. They've got Louisville in the first round, who is okay. Then they've got Michigan State, who has been up and down all year. They've looked unbeatable some games, but not great others. Same thing kind of for UConn. Looked unbeatable some games not really. So if they can play, this is South Florida, with that consistent like we've seen before, I think they can make it all the way to the Sweet 16 and then possibly make it to the Final Four, where they run into probably a Duke team, I think, in what will be a tough one. I think Duke probably gets there by beating St. John's. I have Kansas, by the way, rolling over Cal Baptist, but then falling in a game against St. John's. St. John's defensively is elite. I know Kansas is a really good defensive team there, but I don't know. I feel like St. John's and the St. John Kansas game would be a very, very good one. But I feel like as if St. John's is probably going to win that by just a hair for some reason. That's just my gut feeling on it. But you never know, especially if Darren Peterson gets into kind of his mode where he becomes an elite basketball player, then that might change. But St. John's defensively, I think they get it done over Kansas, advancing into the Sweet 16 where they meet Duke, and then Duke meets South Florida in kind of one of my deeper upset runs. You skip across we'll just go down here on the south side of the bracket. I don't have a ton of upsets. Clemson, Iowa, I think is a complete toss-up game. I actually have Iowa going. I think it's just because I've seen them more, and I love Bennett Sturts and Ben McCollum. So I hate Iowa, but I love those two guys. And so anyway, I think Iowa is able to get past Clemson in the first round before they run into a buzzsaw in Florida, more than likely. Kind of really the only upset I have in this bracket is VCU taking out North Carolina in an 11-6 game. North Carolina is without their best player. He's out for the rest of the year. VCU is playing very, very good basketball right now. I think they're able to upset North Carolina and make it into the next round where they'll take on Illinois, who I think personally is going to be making it all the way to the Elite Eight, where they probably meet Florida. People are probably curious, what did you do with Nebraska? I tell you, folks, I waffled back and forth on this first round game. I really did. I kind of think that Troy is in a prime position to upset Nebraska. I really, really do. But I think the reason why I went with Nebraska is the fact that I think the crowd will play a huge factor in Oklahoma City. The stuff that I'm reading and the things that I'm hearing is that there's going to be just an absolute abundance of fans going to Oklahoma City, including yours truly. But there's going to be a ton of Husker Red out there. And because of that, I think it's going to help propel Nebraska over Troy. The spread is huge. It's like 13.5. It's a massive spread. I think Troy covers that personally. But I still think Nebraska finds a way to get that done against Troy. But there's lots of things that went against my feeling on that. Nebraska has not played good over its last 12 games. They have not looked the same since they lost up in Michigan in a very competitive contest. They haven't looked the same. But I think they have enough in the tank to get at least a first-round win. I don't think it goes much further than that. I kind of waffled back on Vanderbilt McNeese. I actually had McNeese in a McNeese-Troy meeting there. But I kind of went back with Vanderbilt. I think they have enough skill and size and talent to withstand McNeese's length and athleticism and defensive prowess. So I'm going to take Vanderbilt and Nebraska. I think Vanderbilt probably gets the best of Nebraska because Vanderbilt's got a lot of size and length, and those are things that Nebraska doesn't have a ton of. And I think that might be something that hurts them. So Nebraska's probably one and done, but I will still be a very happy person if they end up winning an NCAA tournament game for the first time in the history. But I've got Florida, Illinois in the Elite Eight matchup there, a 1 and a 3. I love Illinois. I think they've been one of the best teams in all of college basketball. I love their depth. I love what they can do. their size. They have everything you need to be an elite basketball, to be a team that makes a deep, deep run in Illinois. And I think they can get it done all the way to the Elite Eight where they meet up with Florida. I'll give my final four picks of it later on. On the West, if you jump up to the top right side of the bracket, pretty chalky for me in this bracket here. I do have BYU making a little bit of an upset over Gonzaga and making it into the Sweet 16. I do have Purdue. Purdue is playing with a lot of confidence right now, and I think they're going to ride that confidence all the way to the Elite Eight. I think they're going to make it that far. They've got Queens in the first round, then they've got Miami, and Miami is a really good team, but I think Purdue's size will prevail there. I think Purdue will run into BYU, which will be a really good game. But I think Purdue, once again, I'm going to say the momentum carries them into the Elite Eight, but that's about as far as it goes. And you've got Arizona on the other side, the top side of this bracket, and I think they're the best team in all of college basketball. They're the most complete team. Size, rebounding, defense, shooting, they can do it all. They have all the pieces they need. I think they're the most complete basketball team. And so I've got Arizona and Purdue meeting in the Elite Eight in the West bracket, but no real upsets in that bracket for me. No real upsets in what is the West bracket. And then in the Midwest bracket, you've got Michigan in here, and this is probably where I had my most upsets picked. It was in this West bracket. I think St. Louis is able to get it done against Georgia, but barely. I think there's a minor upset. I've actually got one of those weird 12-13 sweets or round of 32 games. I think Akron beats Texas Tech and Hofstra takes down Alabama. I don't think Texas Tech without JT Toppin has been fine, but I think they're beatable, and Akron is a really good basketball team. Really, really good. But then you've got Hofstra and Alabama, and Hofstra is an elite defensive team I think could give Alabama some fits. So I've got one of those random 12-13 second-round games with Akron advancing into the Sweet 16 to take on Michigan. I think that's some upsets there. I've got Tennessee and Virginia, which is no upsets, but then I do have Santa Clara beating Kentucky in the first round. Hopefully, the star player for Santa Clara, I'm forgetting his name. Is it Christian Hammond, possibly? Anyway, if he can play up to his potential, that they have a chance to beat Kentucky, who's been so up and down this year. And so I'm picking Santa Clara to get the win. I still think, though, despite some upsets in the first couple of rounds, once again, and it happens pretty much every year, there are upsets in the first couple of rounds. But for the most part, when you get to the Elite Eight and the Final Four, the cream rises to the top and the best teams prevail. So my Elite Eight includes Duke, South Florida, which is my lowest seeded team in the Elite Eight, South Florida, the 11th seed. Florida, Illinois in the South bracket. Arizona, Purdue, which is a 1-2, and Michigan, Iowa State, which is a 1-2 at this point in time. So, and then when it breaks down to my Final Four, I have 3 1 seeds and 1 3 seed. I have Arizona and Michigan, and then Duke and Illinois are the other ones. Arizona, I think, is going to be Arizona, Michigan, to me, could be a national championship game. It certainly could be. They are two of the more complete basketball teams in all of college basketball. It could be the de facto national championship. I think Arizona is the team that gets it done over Michigan and advances the national championship game, where they will take on Illinois. I think Illinois is the team that advances from the left side of the bracket. They beat Duke in the Final Four. Once again, I think Illinois has just got a super complete basketball team with size, with shooting, with everything that you need, skill players, a star player in Keaton Wagler. They have everything that you need to make a deep tournament run. I think they make it all the way to the national championship game, and you kind of get I don't know what you want, but what do you call this? Like an early 2000s vibe with this national championship game as Arizona takes on Illinois. I've got Arizona, Illinois in my national championship game, and once again, I think just the completeness of the line of the roster and the lineup for Arizona prevails, and they get the win over Illinois in this year's NCAA tournament championship game in Indianapolis. So I got Arizona over Illinois in my national title game, Arizona, Michigan, Duke, Illinois in the Final Four. Like I said, I've got a few upsets. Like I said, probably my biggest ballsy pick, if you want to call it that, is South Florida making it all the way to the Elite Eight. Past that, and maybe Akron making a Sweet 16 run. But past that, not many double-digit seeds making it to the Sweet 16. So I only have 2 actually double-digit seeds make it to the Sweet 16. Very chalky. Like I said, I think we'll see a few upsets. I still think, though, in this era of college basketball, the teams that spend the most money on their rosters have the best shot of making a deep run. So the teams that are spending anywhere from $20 million, well, minus maybe Kentucky, a $20 million roster for Kentucky. I think they overpaid a lot for a lot of guys, but $20 million all the way down to $9 to $10 million. There's probably about 10 of those rosters in all of college basketball. And a lot of those rosters that are in that range are in the Final Four, in my Final Four. So you've got to spend the money. You got to invest and hopefully get what you invested back. I think those teams are going to see that in Arizona, Michigan, Illinois, and Duke. I think those are the 4 best teams we'll see in the Final Four. And I've just got and then the way it just kind of plays out, I've got Arizona and Illinois. If Michigan's on the other side of the bracket, probably Arizona, Michigan for the national championship. But because they're on the same side, right side of the bracket, I've got Arizona, Illinois playing for a national championship. There you go. That's my bracket breakdown here on this Wednesday before the Wednesday before the tournament really gets going with the official first round tomorrow. Once again, for those who don't know, just a quick look here on Thursday. This is on Friday. I beg your pardon. Kansas will take on Cal Baptist. That will be in San Diego. That is a late tip of 8:45 Central, 7:45 Mountain Time is when that tip will take place with Kansas and Cal Baptist. Nebraska plays Troy. That's Thursday. They're the second game of the entire day. 11:40 Central, 10:40 Mountain Time is when that game will tip between Troy and Nebraska, once again from Oklahoma City. You can watch that game on True TV. The Kansas game, by the way, will be on CBS. And, of course, you're home for Kansas Jayhawk basketball here on the High Plains. That'd be Flyover Country 97.9. So there you go. There's a look at the NCAA tournament, what to expect from that. Before we get to a break, I did want to quickly highlight some other area teams that will be playing some basketball. Let's see. When will that be? Let's see here. No, we'll wait on that, I guess, a little bit. I did see Wichita State did beat Wyoming last night, 74-70 in the NIT. So Wichita State advancing, ending Wyoming season. I did mention Nebraska women's basketball plays tonight. I think Colorado State is in the NCAA tournament. I know K-State's in the women's NIT. Some things to look out for over the next few days as that stuff kind of all gets rolling. But all right, let's get to our first break. When we come back, we are going to be joined, or I was joined yesterday, I should say, by Kevin Kugler, the voice of the Final Four on Westwood One Radio. We will visit with him about his preparation for the Final Four as he gets set for another NCAA tournament on Westwood One. We'll get to all that next. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Wednesday.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
Get ready for the 10th annual Schilling Cattle Production Sale that's happening Wednesday, March 25th at 1 p.m. Central Time in Brewster, Kansas. We're selling 50 Angus bulls, 2 Linflex bulls, and 20 Angus heifers. Big, stout, performance-driven cattle with an excellent selection of Calvin-Ease bulls. You can check out the cattle on Facebook at Schilling Cattle and watch the sale live on DV Auction. Come see great cattle, meet great people, and enjoy some fantastic food. Mark your calendar now for the Schilling Cattle Production Sale on Wednesday, March 25th.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
This is Austin Wright, the Anderson's Trade Group, and your morning market update. It is March 18th. May corn, $4.54 3/4. July corn, $4.66 1/2. September corn, $4.69. May KC wheat, $6.10 1/4. July KC wheat, $6.25. September KC wheat, $6.39. May soybeans 11.54 and 3/4. July soybeans 11.69 and 1/4. August soybeans 11.60. Dow Jones futures are currently down 267 points at 47,081. S&P 500 futures are currently down 36 points at 6,737. Nasdaq futures are currently down 130 points at 24,882. Gold is currently down $146 at 4,860. Crude is currently up $1.72 at 97.93. For more information on our grain marketing products or tools, you can reach the Kansas City office, Jared Law, Tyler Gosch, Tom Saludo at 913-748-3000. In Colorado, John Hankey and John Stiles, 970-744-4484.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
In today's market, open cows cost you real money. More calves on the ground means more dollars back in your pocket. Flaxseed tubs from SmartLick Supplements improve conception rates and shorten your breeding window, so more cows breed back faster. Flaxlick delivers omega-3 fatty acids to support fertility and increase pregnancy rates. Better conception, more calves, better profits. Go to smartlick.com, that's smartlic.com, to find your nearest Flaxlick dealer.
When your livelihood depends on your livestock, every acre matters. Great Plains is here to help you get the most out of your operation. Erase evidence of grazing with a Great Plains disc harrow. Manage pastures, spread manure, and create an ideal seed bed with the VT 1100 Turbo Max. And seed both cash and cover crops with a trusted BD 7600 drill. Better tools, better forage, better results. See your Great Plains dealer or visit GreatPlainsAg.com to get started.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, and cleaner American fuel. This message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Want to be part of the Morning Blitz?
Sometime I'll give you a piece of my mind, like right now.
Send your thoughts to the F&B Bank text line at 785-899-2222.
$7:33 Mountain, 8:33 Central Time on a Wednesday, March the 18th. Warming up today, temperatures around 80 degrees. Light west wind, should be a beautiful day today, and going to just continue to get warmer. Lower 80s tomorrow, mid 80s Friday, low 90s on Saturday. Could even possibly see some temperatures touching the triple digits in some spots on Saturday throughout the listening area. It could really get that warm. And then temperatures will cool down quite a bit on Sunday and Monday into the lower 60s before back up into the 70s on Tuesday, but nothing too drastic to say the least. But yeah, once again, today, mostly sunny, highs around 80. Right now, currently, a nice, beautiful 41-degree morning outside the KLOE studios here in Goodland. I forgot to mention, if you want to hit us up on the FP Bank text line at 785-899-2222, put in your national champion prediction from your bracket or maybe your Final Four, whatever you want to kind of tell me. I'd love to hear who you've got going to the Final Four or winning the national championship or playing for the national championship. Would love to see that. FB Bank text line at 785-899-2222 if you'd like to text the show and anytime and just let us know your thoughts and comments. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So text the show with your interesting picks from your NCAA tournament bracket. And of course, don't forget the NCAA, or I should say our NWKS Radio Bracket Challenge continues to roll along. Today is the second to last day to get a bracket picked up and returned to your sponsoring location. You can text the word bracket to our text line or to both of our text lines, either 2222 or 0790, and you can get a response back that will tell you, or go to our website, nwksradio.net, to find the list of sponsors. You can go pick up a bracket. So I would invite you to go pick up a bracket, fill it out, returning to your sponsoring location that you got it from, and make sure that that is all. And you have to get those in by noon local time tomorrow. So by noon local time Thursday, you need to have those brackets in to the into the sponsor location. After that, the brackets are pulled by the sponsors, and we pick those up. So be a part of the bracket challenge, though. Okay, let's no time to waste anymore. We got to get to my interview. Once again, yesterday I was honored that this man decided to take a little bit of time. He's very, very busy this time. He's very busy all year long. He's everywhere. Kevin Kugler works for Westwood One Sports on the radio, but he does NFL football for Fox. You'll see him on Sundays. He's on the Big Ten Network, FS1. He does baseball. He does everything. He is they call him the play-by-play man of the universe. Is kind of the joke. But he's been one of my favorite broadcasters to follow throughout my career, and he was nice enough to respond to me when I reached out if he would join us on the show. And so yesterday I visited with Kevin about getting ready for the Final Four, but I opened up the conversation. I didn't know for sure. I had read something, heard something that he had some sort of tie to Eastern Colorado. I thought it was his first job, but I was incorrect. Once again, Kevin Kugler joining me yesterday.
No, I actually lived in Eastern Colorado as a kid. And then my first job out of college was in Eastern Nebraska, in York, Nebraska, where I worked for a year calling the York Dukes high school football and high school basketball, high school soccer, and high school baseball. So I grew up in Eastern Colorado for about 7 years as a kid, and then ended up living in Nebraska, going to the university, and starting off my career in York, Nebraska.
So Eastern Colorado, where were you living at that time of age?
Holyoke, Colorado, county seat of Phillips County.
Yes, not too far outside of our listening area here. So that's fascinating to know. But Kevin, I really appreciate once again making some time for us. When you look at the NCAA tournament that you guys have in front of you here, and you look at the schedule that is given out from a broadcast perspective, how do you know, when is it determined on where you're going, who you'll be covering, and all of that stuff?
Well, the good news is with us at Westwood One, we don't necessarily wait for when the bracket comes out. So I have been assigned to San Diego. I've known that for the last couple of weeks now. And it was just a matter of who would end up in San Diego. So, it's a tough cross to bear that I have to go spend a few days in San Diego in March, but I'm willing to take that burden and spend time on a 78-degree sunny day. Although the fun thing, Ross, with the NCAA tournament is I tell people this all the time. The first weekend, you could be in San Diego, you could be in Buffalo. You don't really know because you go into an arena, you're there for 4 games one day, you go back the next day for meetings, you go in the next day for 2 games, and then your weekend is over. So I say that San Diego is a nice place to be. I'll be outside for probably 10 minutes of my time in San Diego, but I'm excited. I think we've got a really good group of games. I think we've got some really fun teams to watch, and I'm excited to get there.
Yeah, you won't be seeing Kevin Kugler on the beach a whole lot this weekend is what you're saying, correct?
You will not, which is good for not only Kevin Kugler, but good for everyone on the beach.
Your team that you got at the San Diego, at that San Diego site, you don't know until bracket day. So you kind of have to really jam pack for your 8 teams in the matter of a week. It's got to be a lot of crunching and getting to know these teams so you can broadcast them correctly.
It is. It's a rigorous process. And the first couple of years I did it, it was really sort of a feeling out process as to, all right, what do I need? What's important for this broadcast? What's not important for this broadcast? It's really just kind of a balancing act as to how much I can get done in a short amount of time. So as we speak this morning, I'm more than halfway through what I need. We'll be there on Thursday doing interviews all day Thursday. And then Friday is when we tip things off in our site. Obviously everything got going on Tuesday, but for our site, things really hit the ground running on Thursday with the meetings, and then Friday with the games.
How much work can you really get done? I feel like you kind of get like the black and white done going to San Diego, and then you got to fill in with all the information that you get from coaches and players. I would assume that's how that is done, correct?
It is. Yeah. I'll get the nuts and bolts all down, everything printed out. I'll put together my spotting charts and make sure that I have pronunciations correct for how you say names, current stats, how much does this guy score, honors that they've had during the course of the season, like Dominique Daniels of Cal Baptist, for example, was an all WAC player last year, improved this year. He's the WAC player of the year, and he's the 6th leading scorer in all of Division I basketball. So it's just those kind of black and white basic storylines that you build, and then you fill in as the week goes on. You do as much reading as you can in a short amount of time to try to get up to speed, if you will, on these teams. You're never going to be as well versed on, say, a Cal Baptist team than the person who's covering them every single day. You just want to make sure that you've got the nuts and bolts down. You understand a little bit of how they play, who they are, what they do, so that they don't completely surprise you when they take the court against Kansas on Friday.
Well, speaking of Cal Baptist, like you mentioned, they do take on the Kansas Jayhawks. What are your thoughts on KU heading into this NCAA tournament?
I've had Kansas a few times this year. I had them a couple of weeks ago when they lost at Arizona State. I've had them at home when they played Houston. So I've seen them at good. I've seen them at bad. They played the hardest schedule in all of Division I. I'm anxious to see what they look like. And again, the story of this team seems to always hinge around Darren Peterson. And is he there? How capable is he going to be? And how aggressive is the rest of his team going to be with him on the floor at times this season? And it's certainly been well documented. Kansas has deferred a little bit too much, it seems, to Darren Peterson when he's on the floor at the expense of others like Melvin Council Jr. or Trey White or Flory Badunga. I'm anxious to see if they've figured out a better rhythm now that Darren Peterson has really been in the lineup on the regular over the last few weeks. This is a really interesting start, and this is really the bracket that I'm most interested in San Diego. We've got Arizona, and I've called both of the 16-1 upsets in the history of the NCAA tournament. I don't know that we're going to see one in San Diego. I think Arizona is a dominant basketball team. I've had them a couple of times this year. They're exceptionally good at this sport. I don't know that we're going to see them upset this weekend. I do think a potential Kansas-St. John's matchup is one of the more intriguing second-round matchups of this tournament. So I'm kind of, you always have to look forward a little bit, Ross, and say, okay, what might I see here? What might I see there? Because as much time as I have now, I have even less to get ready for that second game in our tournament. So you kind of want to have the idea in your mind of, okay, if this goes according to plan, these two teams will meet, and what does that look like? So you kind of keep that in the back of your mind while you're making sure that you tell the story of Cal Baptist and you tell the story of Kansas in that first game.
We're visiting with the play-by-play voice, Westwood One. He will be doing the Final Four later on this month. Actually, it should be next month, I should say. Kevin Kugler joins us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline. You've got a lot of really good teams. Kansas is a good team, St. John's, Arizona. I mean, there's a lot of good teams that you'll get to see, teams that could be making deep tournament runs possibly.
Oh, no question. I think Arizona's a team that you can see, and I would honestly be surprised in that bracket if you don't see them in Indianapolis. I think they're a little bit more complete than almost every team in there. Now, I love the way Purdue finished down the stretch. They're the number 2 seed in the West. If they are a team that has figured it out, remember, they were the preseason pick in the Big Ten Conference this year, and they have 3 guys who have been through this before on the way to a national championship game in Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Trey Kaufman-Renn. So that Purdue team is a really intriguing team in the West. I'll hopefully see them at some point, but I've got Arizona this weekend, and I love this team. I think they're incredibly deep. I think they're balanced. They're well coached. And then on the other side, where you get some of the West and you get some of the East, even though we're in the West, St. John's is a really intriguing team. They've had their ups and downs. They are not a great shooting team, especially from behind the arc. And Northern Iowa is an interesting team. If they can score a little bit, the way they defend is going to give St. John's some problems. I'm not saying they're going to beat St. John's, but I am saying that St. John's, I think, has a little tougher road to get to a matchup with Kansas than Kansas does against a Cal Baptist team that is small and outside of Dominique Daniels doesn't have anybody that you would consider to be a big-time scorer on this roster.
Once again, we're visiting with Kevin Kugler, Westwood One, play-by-play. When you're focusing, of course, on your 8 teams this weekend, Kevin, sure. But you need to also kind of keep an eye out for everybody else a little bit because you'll be doing games further down the line. How much do you try to go and keep tabs on other games and things like that throughout the course of a tournament?
Well, you have to, and because I've got to keep tabs on them. I'll be in Chicago next week, so I definitely have my eye on the Midwest Regional this week because I've got to be in Chicago next week for that. The good news for me is I've seen Michigan multiple times this year. They're the number 1 seed in the Midwest. I've had Iowa State this year. I've seen them a couple of times. They're the number 2 seed. I saw Alabama last week in the SEC tournament. So I've seen a lot of these teams that are at least the higher seeded teams and have a good chance to get through. Tennessee, the same thing as the 6th seed. So I have my eye on the Midwest region, and you keep your eye on everything else, in the South. I've had Florida. I've had Houston. I've had Illinois. I've had Nebraska. I've had Vanderbilt. Those are the top 5 seeds in the South. So I feel pretty good about anybody coming through the South. If they're a top 5 seed, they're going to be somebody I've seen. I've seen Arizona in the West, and obviously I see them again this weekend. Purdue is the number 2 seed. I've yet to see Gonzaga in person, but I've seen Arkansas, the 4 seed. I've seen Wisconsin, the 5, and BYU, the 6. So again, I'm fortunate that I cover the sport all year long, Ross, so I get the chance to see a lot of different teams, and Fox has the Big East, and Fox has the Big 12, and Fox has the Big 10. So I've had the chance to be in a lot of different places this year, doing over 40 games on TV, so that helps me, and that helps my base of knowledge going into this, because you really want to have that broad knowledge, because when I'm on the air on Friday, I'm not watching anything else. I'm only watching the 4 games that I'm doing. So you kind of have to play catch up, and it helps if I've seen the teams that I'm trying to catch up to.
Are there any intriguing storylines that as you go into this big tournament that you're kind of fascinated to learn? And it doesn't have to even do with your own regional.
Here's what I'm interested in. Is this going to be, my gut tells me it's going to be a less chalk NCAA tournament than what we had last year. But I also know that we're in an era in which there is a disparity of talent stacked towards the teams that can, quite honestly, spend enough money to buy that talent. And you have teams that have a pretty significant talent gap. I feel like we're going to see fewer upsets again in this first weekend than we've become accustomed to over the years. You'll see an upset here and there, but I really do think there's an imbalance of power in college basketball right now. And I think it leans toward the schools that have been able to go out and collect enough NIL money to purchase a significantly better roster than others. And some of those lower seed schools that we're so accustomed to seeing rise onto the stage in March, the players they have are not the same caliber as the players that maybe those schools would have had 10 years ago before the rating of smaller schools began. So to me, the real story for this tournament is, will it be less chalky, or do we look at Duke and Florida and Arizona and Michigan and say it's a 4 number 1 seed kind of thing again, because these 4 are just so much better than everybody else? And I hope that's not the case, because it kind of takes the charm out of what we've become accustomed to with the NCAA tournament. So I'm hoping that we see a little bit more balance this year as we move through March.
Once again, we're visiting with Kevin Kugler, Westwood One Radio. If you hear any of the NCAA tournament, you will for sure hear his voice at some point in time throughout the next couple of weeks. And he'll be doing, of course, the Final Four and the national championship for Westwood One. I gotta go back to the broadcasting side, because this kind of stuff fascinates me. We see you all throughout, the year. We'll just stick in basketball. You're doing, television on Big Ten Network or Fox, and you're all over the countryside. And then you have to switch to radio here to do the Westwood One stuff. How much of a transition is that for your mind and for how you broadcast?
Well, it certainly is. It requires a little bit more of me, which is, good or bad, depending on how you feel about my play-by-play work. But I have to do more descriptiveness. As you know, Ross, radio is a much more descriptive platform for a play-by-play person. And so when we're doing play-by-play on the radio, I've got to be telling you more stories about where the ball is and how much time is left, as opposed to doing more of a human interest story on this guy's third cousin who scaled Mount Everest one time and gave us all a great moment. So it lacks a little bit in the storytelling. From that standpoint, you just have to figure out how to weave it in. And that's really the challenge and the fun challenge of doing play-by-play on the radio. Anybody will tell you that doing play-by-play on the radio is really, that's where it's at, because it really requires so much more of us as play-by-play announcers. The analyst is the star on the television side. My job is to make sure that I hit the highlight, but that I also get the analyst into positions that he needs to be so that he can tell the story that he wants to tell about what is going on in the game. From the radio standpoint, it's more about me weaving with vocabulary and painting the picture as to what's going on the court. So it takes a little bit for me to shift my gears, so to speak, from doing TV to doing radio. The fortunate thing is I did the SEC tournament on radio last weekend. It's a great way to kind of make the move from, I did Big Ten tournament Thursday, Friday. I did SEC on radio Saturday, Sunday. So I went day to day. I went TV Thursday, Friday, and then flipped that switch, turned off the TV brain on Friday night, turned on the radio brain on Saturday, and now I'm radio the rest of the way through the rest of the college basketball tournament. So I'm excited for that, and it's a really good thing for me to have that SEC tournament to make sure I have that abrupt switch of, all right, I got to be ready. I've got to be ready for radio, and that's what the SEC does for me. It gives me that radio mindset.
Kevin, something I've noticed about your broadcasting and I've always admired about it is you don't take anything too seriously. And I think you have a fantastic sense of humor and you find a way to kind of sneak it into broadcasts. How important is that to be light with things and have some fun?
I think it's the most critical aspect of what we do outside of making sure people know where the ball is and what time left and what the score is. This is supposed to be entertainment. And here's how I look at it, Ross. If you're driving around listening or you're sitting down watching, whether it's television or radio, and it sounds like the person doing the game doesn't want to be there, or he's just griping about this or griping about that and not having fun, why as a viewer or a listener would I want to invest any amount of time in that? If this person who is getting a check to do this is unhappy with the fact that they're there, why am I investing my time for free in watching this? And that frustrates me sometimes because I hear it in broadcasts all the time where it's sort of a curmudgeonly approach to things like, oh, I'm going to be critical. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. And there's time to be critical. I'm not saying there's not. That's part of the job. But it's also part of the job to entertain and inform. And to me, the entertaining part is what you have to have. If it's not fun, if it's not entertaining, I feel like we're missing something. This is supposed to be entertainment. You and I are playing in the sandbox, so to speak. We get the chance to be paid to go to college, high school, professional sporting events. How cool is that? And if I can't share that enjoyment and that fun on the air, well, then I'm lacking in my job. That to me, that's one of the most important things. I want it to sound like, hey, this is a fun thing. You should stick around to be a part of this because it's really going to be a cool thing for you.
Before we let you go, who are you teamed up with this year on Westwood One?
I am so fortunate, and anybody who's listened to Westwood One, whether it's the NFL, whether it's college basketball, whatever, we are so fortunate that we have such a great group of talent to be with us. I'm with my good friend PJ Carlissimo this week in San Diego. Next week, I'm with Jordan Cornette. And then the Final Four, it's me, it's Robbie Hummel, it's PJ, it's Andy Katz. It's a terrific crew every single year. I've been really fortunate throughout the years. I started this thing, did a decade with Coach John Thompson and Bill Raftery on the Final Four. I've gotten the chance to work with Jim Jackson multiple times on the Final Four. It's really a blessing for me to have those kind of people there to help me out. And it's going to be a great run. I can't wait to see PJ this weekend in San Diego.
Once again, play-by-play voice at Westward One, Fox, Big Ten Network, you name it, he's been there, he's done it, Kevin Kugler. Kevin, thank you so much for sparing away a little bit of time before March Madness, and best of luck to you and your broadcast crew, and look forward to hearing everything you got to say through the upcoming weeks.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks, Ross.
Once again, great stuff there from Kevin Kugler. Once again, the voice of the Final Four on Westwood One, and look forward to hearing him call games on Westwood One over the coming weeks. All right, let's get to our final break, come back, and wrap things up with some thoughts on some whiteout movement. And I mean whiteouts in the NFL. That's next here on the Morning Blitz on this Wednesday.
The days are getting longer, the roads are calling, and it's a great time to upgrade your ride at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get 1.9% APR for 36 months on a 2026 GMC Terrain, the perfect SUV for wherever the road takes you. Need a truck? Take advantage of up to $7,000 in rebates on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500 with eligible trade-in. And for serious capability, get $500 bonus cash on a new 2026 GMC 3500. See the full lineup today at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland or online at hurlchev.com.
Your business was built right here, so was ours. At FNB Bank, we are not run from some distant city. We are run by neighbors, for neighbors. We know what matters to you because it matters to us too. From local decisions to face-to-face service, we are here. Bank local, grow local, stay local. FNB Bank, member FDIC.
Our annual Better Home and Living Show is this weekend. Stop by the booth of Colby Ag Center, your Case IH dealer. Colby Ag carries mowers like Cub Cadet, different styles and sizes, riding mowers, push mowers, just a lot of mowers, and lawn tools, including steel chainsaws and power equipment. Colby Ag has many other things for spring, like golf carts, ATVs, barbecue grills, and more. Take advantage of show specials like on the Kubota utility tractor on display. That's Colby Ag Center, your Case IH dealer.
You can feel it in the air, longer days, greener lawns, and plenty of projects waiting around the house. Good thing Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland has you covered. Freshen up your home with Benjamin Moore paint, tackle the yard with powerful Ego battery tools, and give your lawn the boost it needs with Stage 1 Ultimate Fertilizer. Thinking about cooking outside? Check out their great selection of grills, griddles, smokers, and outdoor living essentials. And remember, if you need it, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware probably has it. They eat and have milk. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your place for just about everything.
From the locker room to your morning commute, it's all sports, all the time.
That's what I'm talking about. Sport!
On the Morning Blitz.
So just a couple minutes left to go on our show today and for this week. Once again, no shows tomorrow and Friday. I will be out at the NCAA tournament in Oklahoma City. Big news yesterday morning came down that the Denver Broncos, who have been very, very quiet throughout the entire offseason to this point in time, made a splash deal where they went and traded for Miami Dolphins wide receiver Jalen Waddle. He's got a physical today, and hopefully if that all goes well, he'll be able to go. 64 catches, 910 yards, 6 touchdowns this past season would have been third, second, and second for the Broncos in those respective categories. He was a first-round pick back in 2021. But the big thing, the biggest thing that stands out to me is what the Broncos had to give up to get him. A fourth round, they get a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a fourth. Is that right? So they're going to send Broncos send a first-round pick, the first-round pick, their third and fourth-round picks, first and third and fourth-round picks. The Dolphins send a fourth-round pick back. A little bit in the deal too, but FB Bank text line, Brian chimes in. Brian says the Broncos gave away too many picks, should have been a 26-1 and third round, not all three. I'm kind of with Brian. I think they kind of paid a hefty price to get him. I still think he's going to be a great addition. Michael chimes in and says Waddle is going to be Bo Nix's new best friend when they play defense against zone. Waddle is a zone buster. By the way, he also says that KU is going to be in the Final Four. Thanks, Michael. But, they swapped fourth picks. I misspoke. They swapped the fourth picks, but you still gave up a first, a third. So I don't know. It feels like it's a little bit of a steep price, a little bit to me. But, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely going to be a huge thing. You look at that wide receiver room. I mean, you've got now Cortland Sutton, who's got some pressure taken off of him. Troy Franklin, you go up and down that list. There's plenty of good wide receivers that the Broncos have now. Hopefully this will help them a lot. But once again, that was the biggest thing I took away was with the fact that they really gave up a lot to get him. But it may be worth it. He's in the prime of his career. I don't think they have to. I think he's kind of on the I think his deal was recently redone. So I don't think he signed a 3-year, over $84 million extension before the 2024 season. So they don't really have to redo anything right away. So yeah, it's a good deal there. And then also news yesterday, the Chiefs wide receiver Hollywood Brown is no longer going to be on Kansas City roster. He is headed to Philadelphia to be a part of the Eagles. He is going for a deal that is worth up to about $6.5 million. So Chiefs are out on Hollywood Brown. He goes to Philadelphia. So a couple of wide receivers from our regional NFL teams are on the move.
And Matt lifts his ball high, deep to right. How about a walk-off Brady? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Let's talk some baseball here in the walk-off. Congratulations to Colby Community College baseball. They put it into a 9-game losing streak with a sweep of Otero yesterday, 13-3 and 13-9. The 7-15 Trojans head to Cloud County. And good friend of the program, KJCCC reigning pitcher of the year, Cole Linton, and his T-Birds will host the Trojans coming up here on Thursday. Colby Community College softball was swept yesterday by Midland College, 8-0 and 12-7. The Lady Trojans 12-12 on the year. They host Butler on Friday. Today, 42nd Northwest softball visits Kansas City, Kansas Community College for a doubleheader. Big night last night for Carlos Vasquez and K-State baseball. They win 13-3 in Baylor. Vasquez goes 3 for 3 with 7 RBI in the win. The Wildcats are looking great. They're 16-5. Nebraska beat Wichita State 8-1 last night. They've won 10 in a row, have the Big Red. And then KU Missouri were supposed to play last night. That's got pushed tonight due to some poor weather. And the World Baseball Classic, if you didn't see this last night, Venezuela beats the USA 3-2. Some late drama. Big 2-run homer from Bryce Harper, tied it in the 8th. But Eugenio Suarez, a go-ahead double in the 9th. And USA cannot get it done when it's all said and done there. And so, by the way, Royals' Michael Garcia was named tournament MVP. I did see Rockies shortstop Ezekiel Tovar was on the all-tournament team at shortstop. So that was pretty good as well. There you go. Some baseball news to wrap up the Morning Blitz here on this Wednesday and for this week. Once again, no shows tomorrow or Friday here on the Morning Blitz. I will be out in Oklahoma City watching the NCAA tournament. So we will talk to you on Monday. Enjoy the first round. We'll recap it all that Monday. Until then, be well. It's been the Blitz.
Rocket 102.5 KLOE Goodland.